Many big headlines in politics this week. Here with more, Megan Lancotti from the Hinckley Institute of Politics to break it all down. Megan, thanks so much for being here. We've got so much to talk about today.
It's great to be with you, and I hate to do this on air, but it is Morgan.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's
Thank you, Morgan,
okay.
for correcting me. I really apologize. So that confirmation hearing, I mean, Democrats initially kind of were bluffing that they had some things up their sleeve to slow it down, but it's turning out that that's not really the case. Looks like that vote will happen next Thursday.
It is interesting with these confirmation hearings. We saw that there was a redirection of the strategies, I guess I'll say. The Democrats knew that the Republicans thought they were going to maybe focus on religion or abortion, and so they really focused on speaking to the voters. They focused on healthcare, some on abortion, but really on those issues that they thought would connect better with those Democratic and those moderate voters as well.
This was the second major Supreme Court nomination process that's been so heavily televised, obviously last year with Brett Kavanaugh. And I'm curious if you have an opinion about just how voters are reacting to these hearings, how voters are tuning in, maybe have more attention on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, historically, especially Republican voters have put a lot of stock into the Supreme Court and even lower federal court hearings. They really like to have control of the Senate, like to vote for Republican senators, thinking that those courts can protect some of the freedoms that they really care about. We're seeing that Democrats are now understanding the importance of that, and some interesting polling shows that they actually care about it more than Republicans. As you said, some Democrats think that those really vitriolic hearings for Brett Kavanaugh hurt them in the 2018 elections. And so that may be another reason why this has been a much more toned down hearing process.
All right, interesting. Our kind of Utah tie-in here, it was thought that Senator Romney, kind of in the beginning, we thought maybe he would be a wild card. He's made it really clear he does not want to be a wild card during these hearings, and he released a statement recently saying that he would vote for this judge. Thoughts or feelings about that?
Everyone else often looks to Mitt Romney. He's seen as this swing voter, though he's not really a swing voter. He definitely speaks out against the president, but he really does vote in line with his party more often than not. But that said, he still clearly feels the need to make it clear how he wants to vote and put at ease maybe those voters who were wondering.
Okay, interesting there. Yeah, we think of Romney as a swing voter, but he really is. He's a Republican. He's a conservative. He's voting in that way. Can we transition now to the kind of dueling town halls last night? So we had President Trump and Biden doing town halls independently. Did that help either of them? Did it change anything?
I don't think so, especially the fact that they were airing at the same time. Voters are most likely to tune in to the one they wanted to hear. That said, this is much more the style of campaigning and politicking that Biden likes to do. He loves that interpersonal campaigning, whereas President Trump, he likes the rallies, he likes the big speeches, and it was clear he was not in his comfort zone last night.
Right. Interesting. I thought it was interesting the sparring back and forth between President Trump, not necessarily saying that he does not have, $400 million of debt. Did you feel like he kind of misstepped there at all during that town hall last night, or it just really doesn't matter this close to the election day?
Very good questions. It's so hard to tell what matters this close to an election. Sometimes we don't really realize what the October surprise was what that unforced error that was really critical, those things until we can really see after the election. That said, one of the interesting things about President Trump's campaign is by this time in 2016, things had moderated a little bit. They were pushing Vice President Pence more out to to bring in those standard Republicans. And we're not seeing that this time. We're still seeing some of those missteps and some of those really, those party lines that Trump likes to say over and over that work great with his base, but haven't proven to work great with more moderate or swing voters.
Morgan Lancotti with the Hinckley Institute of Politics this morning. Thank you so much for being with us, fitting us in. We will see you again, I'm sure, 3 weeks to Election Day. It feels a little bit crazy that it's so close.
It'll be here before we know it. Thanks so much for talking.
Thank you. Have a great morning.